Dude, look how cool this thing is. I look like a robot.
Yeah, the bionic
Hang on. And then pop out my wires. Look at that.
Nice.
Talk about cyberpunk. I am cyberpunk. So, yeah, we didn't have a podcast last week, did we?
No, that may have been my fault.
No, dude. I mean, I was too busy getting hit by a car and stuff.
And I had the COVID.
How you feeling, man? How you feeling after the cooties?
Better, much better, for sure.
Yeah, good. All right. Did you watch anything cool on your days off?
I watched like 10 or 12 movies, so that's really all I could do.
What was the best one you've seen?
I finally watched Train to Busan.
Yeah, you liked it?
I have mixed feelings.
You have mixed feelings.
Yeah.
You want to get into it a little bit?
Sure.
Okay, what first I want to hear what you think of it.
Well, it was really good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
However, it was a total ripoff of Snowpiercer, if you've ever seen that movie.
Because it was on a train?
Because it was on a train. They even used one of the same actors, and it was a South Korean director. And then the actual movie was a South Korean director. So they totally ripped it off.
It's because it was on a train. It's a completely different kind of train, and they're completely different premises too. Like I don't really see any similarities besides they're on a train.
Agree to disagree. I mean, I thought
did
Snowpiercer
it way
better.
I think yes, Snowpiercer is a great movie too, and I think it completely stands like alone and separate from it. I don't think that. You think that it like copied the whole movie?
No, but I mean like the main premises of it. I think it did.
Okay, well, how many action movies have car chases?
Yeah, but the main set piece is a train.
Mm-hmm. You're right, and they do move from like car to car. Yeah,
car to
but
car.
I think that the fact that this one's a much more like modern public transit than like some post-apocalyptic snow train makes it a lot more relatable. And since this is a horror movie and not like a sci-fi action movie kind of thing, I think that I'm glad that they used a train, because they should explore it in a bunch of different genres. Trains are an interesting way to like pace the movie. I mean, you think Harry Potter copied Snowpiercer?
You're just grasping at straws here.
No, okay.
So I think Snowpiercer had better character development, and they used the train better. And I think Train to Busan was like a B-movie copy, is how I view it.
It was fun though, wasn't it? Like it was pretty exciting the whole way through.
Sure.
You weren't bored? I thought I really liked it. I enjoyed it. I thought the ending was pretty great too, because the hero doesn't die very often.
I think if Train to Busan came out first and then Snowpiercer, I think that would be better. But Snowpiercer just did it better, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'll probably give you that, because they lived on that train. And so, like, that train, like, was a much more thought out and like built world than just like this regular public transit train. So I'll give you that their train was probably better. But it'd be like, I want to see a movie that's Snowpiercer but with zombies. Wouldn't that be cool too?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So Train to Busan, pretty alright. Train to Busan 2 Peninsula, there's no trains. But it's still an alright movie for different reasons. I saw a pretty cool movie too. on Christmas Day, I watched. It's called Fantastic Planet. Mm-hmm. It's a 1973 animated film, and the whole thing's in another language, and so you have to like read subtitles. But there's very little dialogue to begin with, so it's not too hard. But the animation for it is wacky, dude.
In what way?
The first, okay, so you see like regular humans, but then these blue creatures with red eyes reach down and pick up the little human, and so like it's this entire world where humans are just like kind of kept as pets when you're a kid, and like you fight them, kind of like, you know, Beyblades or anything that like little kids do, and then humans escape, or like they're wild humans. They're called, I think they're called Oni in the show. There's so much in this film that's told through visual storytelling. So what this story is you've heard of the ants by the freeway analogy to humans being the ants, and whatever aliens or beings out in the galaxy or universe, those are just cars driving by at 80 miles an hour to an ant, and they're not even noticing us. It's more, if we weren't the size of an ant, if we were like the size of a mouse. So we can make an impact on like their world. Like we're big enough to do that, but we're so tiny and minuscule to them. And it's not that they don't acknowledge our existence, it's that they think of us as wild animals, and to be like, they're fun to play with when you're a kid. And so part of the society of the blue people is they meditate, and you can't meditate until you're somewhere around 13, I believe. Then you can start, and up until then you're taking lessons where you sort of, they show it as like you're like sort of projecting your conscience like right here in front of your forehead, and like watching on a screen, just learning facts, like knowing all the secrets to the universe, I'm guessing is kind of what it is. And the facts that they say are just really kind of mundane, very scientific, like facts about nature and elements and stuff like that. And so that's kind of what's weird about the dialogue, is it's talking about the world like, you know, you understand it, but like it's kind of boring because it's really just plain. It's not like, the dialogue isn't supposed to be like what's exciting. It's supposed to just be like off-putting because they're talking like businessmen almost, or like they're talking very serious, and they're just, their eyes are constantly staring and watching. And so meditation, they project themselves into like another personality, like it's just their spirit that's floating around, and then they, at the very end, you find out that they inhabit like another body over in this other area, that they can mingle with other life forms who are doing the same thing from across the galaxy, and then they dance together and do like this ritual and like share secrets. And so it's these different like levels of like consciousness, and it's really just full of stuff that it isn't conveyed well unless you're watching it. It's that 1970s style. It almost looks Yellow Submarine-esque. Like, it's,
I was gonna say, this sounds like a movie
yeah,
you shouldn't watch.
It's
sober.
very trip. No, yeah, you shouldn't. And I didn't. So, so today we're gonna be talking about time travel movies. Bunch of different varieties and takes on the time travel, idea. They're all pretty different.
Yeah, so I was thinking the first movie we could talk about is Source Code.
Yeah. That one pretty good.
Source Code is about They use a form of time travel to stop a train bombing. And it's a very interesting take on the genre. What did you think of the movie?
Yeah, so this was probably one of the most interesting takes I've seen on time travel. It wasn't like traditional, just like go back to a certain period in time or go forward far ahead to the future.
Mm-hmm.
It was, they were only able to go through a few minutes before the explosion.
Mm-hmm.
And it was through the experience of somebody who was actually there.
Right.
So they were able to plug into that memory that was lost. I think with like in a big event like that, I think that's how they were able to apparently like the energy from the bomb took their memories or something like that, and they were able to use them for a short period of time because they're still in that space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I thought that was a pretty interesting take, like that it was human memories or spirits or something like that they were doing instead of it, like it was like mixed with the technology of that chamber that the Jake Gyllenhaal's in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really liked the movie. I thought Jake Gyllenhaal and Michelle Monaghan were really good together. They had a lot of good chemistry. I'm a really big fan of Duncan Jones, the director. He's done a couple movies that I really like Moon. If you've ever seen that one, that's a really good sci-fi movie. He also did Warcraft, and he did Mute, which was pretty good too. Fun fact, I'm pretty sure Duncan Jones is David Bowie's kid.
Really?
Yeah, so very, very talented family, very talented director. The movie is really good. It had a twist that I don't think we need to talk about.
Yeah, we don't want to spoil anything.
We don't want to spoil it, but you should watch it because it's got a good ending.
I love twists.
Yeah, and I liked the uniqueness of the time travel in this, and how it's almost not time travel, but it definitely is. So, Predestination is a movie about a few characters, but the main character is a temporal agent who time travels through the timeline and tries to stop the Fizzle bomber. So a lot of bomb themes in this episode for some reason, but yeah, he tries to stop a serial bomber. And I'm on the side of, I think this movie is great, and Henry does not feel the same. So we're going to get into it. Why don't you like it, Henry?
Okay, so it's the best produced, worst movie I've ever seen.
Okay. What don't you like?
What don't I like? Okay.
Yeah. Without spoiling it, I guess.
It's really hard. Okay,
Is it
so
the writing you don't like?
No. Okay, so there was just some things that they did in the movie that needed to happen for the story to end the way it did.
Sure.
But I'm not a doctor. But I think there were a couple inaccuracies there. And I'm not against suspension of belief for a movie, but for like how forced it seemed, I didn't think that it really executed it well. But like I said, it's the best produced worst movie I've ever seen. Like the acting's great, for the most part, it's pretty good, and writing's not too bad. It looks really nice, and it did keep my interest throughout the whole thing. And I finished it because I wanted to see what was gonna happen, and then when it ended, I was like, yeah, okay, that's what I thought. So it's that thing where you need to see the end, but I wasn't satisfied with it. But I did really like their idea of time travel, and this is gonna spoil it a little bit, but if you read the back of the box, it spoils almost like the entire movie, and it plays on like the idea, or the opposite of the idea, how in normal traditional time travel movies, if you encounter yourself in the past or in the future, you're gonna like explode or something, or it's gonna cause some temporal rift. This movie has a few times where the main character crosses their own path, and it just wasn't a big deal.
All right. Well, I fundamentally disagree with just about everything you said. I think the movie had so much going for it. I thought the cinematography, the art direction, the lighting, the acting, the music, I thought it was all really solid.
Mm-hmm.
I understand how you could dislike the predictability of it, but at the same time, I liked that there hasn't ever been a story like this. Even though it's predictable, I've never seen a story that is as rounded and cyclical as this story, and it made me happy in that sense. You look like you're trying to interject. What do you got?
Another thing that I wrote down about it was that this was the biggest attempt at an unconventional story that I've ever seen.
What's wrong with that? You think conventional stories need to be
but
everything?
the thing is I got the main message from halfway through the movie, but there's like a deeper meaning to like everything at like toward the end, like once you realize what predestination means. I looked up the definition. I'm going to read it real quick. Predestination in Christian theology is the doctrine that all events have been willed by God, usually with reference to the eventual fate of the individual soul. So it's your predestined role in the universe. And I did like the movie. I thought it was an interesting story, an unconventional story. I liked the acting. It was good. Something about it just left me like unsatisfied, you know? I guess you don't know because you loved it, but I'll watch it again. But man, I was upset.
All right, so I got a theory. So according to your definition of predestination, it's a predetermined thing by God. What did it say? What did it say again?
In Christian theology, it's a doctrine that all events have been willed by God, usually with reference to the eventual fate of the individual soul.
Okay, so willed by God. There is a character in here who makes everything happen, and it's not the main character. And this is going to get into some spoilers, so if you haven't seen this movie, skip this part. Mr. Robertson is the whole reason that this cycle of he's born without parents, he grows up, he changes, he becomes the woman becomes the man and the woman make the child, and then the child grows up, and it's a cycle. But the only thing that isn't a cycle is Mr. Robertson, who gets the girl into the academy and gives the assignments to the barkeep, and he keeps progressing this cycle of everyone meeting and making each other. Does that mean that he is God in this universe, or is he? What are his motivations, I guess?
Yeah, and like I said, there's the surface level stuff that you see the first time you watch it, but by the end, like I said, there was a lot deeper stuff to get from this movie, which is why I'll watch it again. Because it was well put together. Best produced worst movie I've ever seen. Looper Duper.
Looper, I think, is the best movie out of these three movies.
By far, yeah. I would agree.
So Looper is a movie about a group of hired guns called loopers. And what happens is in the future, time travel is invented and it's instantly outlawed. And so mobsters will use time travel to send back people that they want killed. And these loopers will kill them so that there's no trace of the kill. And this movie's wild. It's directed by Rian Johnson, and I have a few different feelings on Rian Johnson, and we'll get into that later. But what did you think of this movie?
I thought that this was the most inventive and engrossing of the three, and it definitely had the best acting.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorite things about this is that they don't have the stupid your past and future self can never meet. I know I kind of mentioned this in Predestination, but it was such a big deal in this one. So loopers on the kill, since it's through time and all that jazz, the kills will be strapped with silver. And then one day you get a kill and it's covered in gold. And that's your last kill because that was you closing your loop on yourself.
That means you are killing your future self.
So you have 30, 40 years and then they come get you, send you back in time. And you're free to do whatever you want in that time. Literally whatever, and you have a fortune.
Yep.
I thought that was a wonderful premise. Like, I think it's much more simple than what a Predestination was going for, but I think that allowed them to get it done a little better, I think. Yeah. Personally. Let's keep them separate, because they're very different movies, but also very similar. It's time travel. It's confusing.
Yeah.
About it.
So there's a line in the movie where he's talking to the main character played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt is talking to his older future self played by Bruce Willis.
Sorry, keep going.
And there's a line in there where he says, "We're not going to talk about time travel. We're going to be here all night, and we're going to get confused, and we're going to have to draw maps and use straws. We're not doing it." And that's like the writer's way of saying, like, just watch the fucking movie.
Yep.
It's not going to make sense, but just go along for the ride. And I appreciated that in the movie.
Dude, I really did too. I smiled real big when in that scene they were in the diner.
Yeah.
Also, what I was trying to interrupt you with is I was very skeptical about Bruce Willis being an older Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Mm-hmm. But there's some shots, there's some scenes where I see it a little bit. I think they
did a lot of makeup to Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and I thought it looked really good. And it didn't take me out of the movie, which it kind of does when you first see him as that. But then once he goes through the movie, it gets really good. And I think he did a really good job emulating his like speech pattern and the way he talks. It was really good. So let's do spoilers because I have a lot to talk about. So First, I want to talk about Rian Johnson, the director. I have such a serious like love-hate relationship with this guy because almost all his movies that he's made I've thoroughly enjoyed and I think are fantastic. But then he made one movie that makes me really hate him. And
what movie is that?
And the movie I'm talking about is Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. He made that movie, and I think I hated everything he did in that movie. Sorry, I'm getting heated just thinking about it right now. There are very few movies that I actually actively dislike because there's so much art that goes into movies, and there's so many things. it's such a turning wheel that like I tend to like movies even if people don't, but I really, really hate Star Wars The Last Jedi. I think Rian Johnson did Luke Skywalker so dirty. But then on the other end, every other movie he's made, like Knives Out, Brick, Looper, I think are fantastic movies, and I like rewatch them at least once a year. And so I'm very torn on Rian Johnson. But that's my little rant on Rian Johnson. Coming back to the actual movie Looper. So once all the time travel stuff is like fleshed out, the main premise of the movie is he has to hunt his older self down and kill him so that he falls back into the good graces with his boss. And the older Bruce Willis makes it very difficult, and he starts hunting down the leader of these mobsters that they work for. And he plans on doing that by finding the Rainmaker as a child and killing him so that he never has to close his loop. And in that, you meet this character played brilliantly by, I don't know his name, the actor, but this kid. Like, I've never seen a kid do so much great acting before for such a, like, I think he's like 5 or 6 years old, but he does an incredible job acting. And you find out he's got like telekinetic powers and he's got like rage issues. And this kid just has such a wide range of acting, and he's really talented.
Yeah, he was a little smart ass too.
Yeah.
He's a cool little kid.
Yeah, very cool. So anyways, so Bruce Willis's character wants to find this kid so that he can not have to lose his wife and get sent back to be killed. And in the process, the young Joseph Gordon-Levitt tries to find this kid to protect him. And he does find him, and he gets really close to him and the kid's mom, and he wants to protect this kid in the end. And so the climax of the movie, Bruce Willis goes to kill him, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character realizes that it's just going to continue. Like, if Bruce Willis's character kills this kid, then this kid grows up to become this awful person, and this awful person wants to kill all the loopers, and then the whole cycle starts all over again. And so Joseph Gordon-Levitt has to end the cycle, and he kills himself.
So, Bruce Willis's character was actually about to kill his mother.
Right.
And that was like a rumor that went around on why, like how he watched his mother die in front of him when he was a kid, and how the Rainmaker was, messed up since he was young.
Mm-hmm.
And so he realized that he was the cause of all of it, and yeah, he took his life and faded away.
So on rewatching this, I actually noticed something that I've seen this movie maybe 5 times, and it was just the last time that I noticed. I don't think they stopped him from becoming the Rainmaker. You know, that's supposed to be the whole ending of the movie. Yeah. But think about it. What did they say? They say that he has a synthetic jaw, and in the movie, he gets shot by Bruce Willis and it grazes his cheek. And then they say that he saw his mom die in front of him. And throughout the whole movie, they make it a point that this little kid doesn't think that this lady watching him is his real mom, and he accidentally killed what he believes to be his real mom. So he is still technically seeing his mom die in front of him because it was his problem. And he still has the jaw. If something happens where his mom dies, he can still grow up and he can still hate loopers because all these loopers tried to kill him as a kid. So the cycle isn't over. When I thought of that, my mind was like, I don't know if that's the intention, but everything still plays out.
Besides just adding like flavor to the characters, I think that's probably the biggest reason why they included that extra bit about the mom being, you know, like having died in front of him, but it was actually her sister, who had like raised him since he could like remember anything.
Right.
And so, like that adds a lot to the character, but then it also adds that little uncertainty to the whole story at the end there. Yeah, I missed it too. That's really smart.
I don't know if that was their intention, but
I think it totally
blew
was.
my mind. The cinematography was fantastic, and I think above all, the score to this movie is like one of my favorite scores in a movie. It's so different from what you would think this like sci-fi action would have. I literally just listened to the score outside of the movie. It's so fantastic. I got to figure out, I should actually like learn who wrote it because it's truly amazing.
Here I was looking at the crew who worked on it, and the soundtrack was written. It's called Slinky, written and performed by Kid Koala.
It's fantastic. It's so good.
Yeah, man. This was my favorite of the bunch.
Mine
this
too.
one was one of my favorite time travel movies in general.
Mm-hmm.
Except for Tenet.
I like this more than Tenet.
Yeah?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know how to end this.
See ya!
Bye.